super fanboy guy. Do, 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 do.
I'm glad you decided to join me in the liberation of mutant kind. Today begins a new world for all of us. A world where we needn't hide in corners and crawl in fear.
Hello, fellow YouTube viewers. This is SFG again, bringing you another fantastic Versus System deck profile video. This deck profile video we're going to do is what I call a Brotherhood deck. It is a Magneto Juggernaut Brotherhood deck, or as I like to call it, the MJ Brotherhood deck. And this deck was actually provided to me by a friend of mine who actually also has the deck. And one day I was just asking him, there's so many Brotherhood builds out there, and Juggernaut and Magneto have always been, two of my favorite X-Men characters. So earlier this year, I just wanted to build a deck themed around them, kind of like a Legends deck, which I think in the Versus System CCG, a Legends deck is a deck that has, I think, like X amount of cards that refer to a character. So I think it's like 15 or 16, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. But you have like 15 Magneto cards or 15 Juggernaut cards that say Juggernaut in the title or the text somewhere in the card. So I told my friend I wanted to make this deck, and like I said, earlier this year I was able to make it and put it together. And I played a couple of games with it, and it's not a super competitive deck, but it has some fun tricks that, I really like in it, and kind of goes with the theme of Magneto and Juggernaut very well. And, I just, like I said, they've been my favorite characters, and I'm glad in Versus System that we have a deck that we can showcase for you today. Maybe if you're a Magneto and Juggernaut fan, maybe this is a deck you want to build yourself. So, it has a couple of kind of cool little combat tricks and other stuff. And also we do play some other Brotherhood characters that you may know from the comics as well. But besides that, so this is going to be the first video. I'm going to try something different from my other Versus System videos. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through all the cards without, just talk about what they do. And then after that, I'm going to talk about some of the combos you can do with the deck. With the cards in the deck, obviously. And so if you guys like this new approach that I'm doing with the deck profiles, make sure to leave a comment, or even if you don't like the way, leave a comment anyway. And let me see. I'm just trying different ways to kind of be a little bit more consistent with my videos. So yeah, any feedback is greatly appreciated. If there's something that I could do differently, feedback on that would be great. But with that, let's just kind of go over the cards. Okay, so as usual, we are starting with our 1-cost characters, and we run 2 copies of Toad, Court Jester, and 4 copies of Destiny, Doomsday Diarist. Toad has, whenever he becomes stunned, you may return him to his owner's hand. Destiny's effect is when Destiny enters play, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and then put them back in any order. Moving on with the 2-cost characters, we run 3 copies of Nocturne, Talia Wagner, and 4 copies of Quicksilver, Mercurial Speedster. Nocturne has an effect whenever she causes breakthrough, you may KO her. If you do, move target stun opposing character to your front row. Quicksilver's effect, characters defending against Quicksilver lose and cannot have reinforcement. For the 3-cost characters, we run 2 copies of Juggernaut, Champion of Sidorak, and 4 copies of Random, Marshall Evan Stone III. Whenever Juggernaut attacks, he cannot ready this turn. Random has an activate ability. Target character gets -3 defense this turn. Whenever another character activates, you may discard a card. If you do, ready Random. The 4-cost characters, we run 2 copies of Magneto, House of M, and Magneto, Mutant Supreme. Magneto, House of M, whenever Magneto enters play, KO any number of target equipment with cost 0 equipped to a single character. Magneto, Mutant Supreme, activates stun target character with the lowest cost among characters in play. Use only during the combat phase and only if you control another Brotherhood character. For our 5-cost characters, we run 4 copies of Juggernaut, Walking Disaster. Whenever Juggernaut causes breakthrough to a player, replace up to that many target face-up resources that player controls. For our 6-cost characters, we run 3 copies of Sentinel Mark 7 repurposed. While you control Magneto, whenever Sentinel Mark 7 stuns another character, you may stun target character with the lowest cost among characters its controller controls. And concluding the characters with our 7-cost characters is 1 copy of Juggernaut, Weapon of Mass Destruction, and 1 copy of Magneto, Master of Magnetism. Juggernaut has an effect at the start of the combat phase. If you recruited another Juggernaut this game, KO up to 2 target resources. Magneto, Master of Magnetism. Stunned opposing characters cannot recover. Now in this deck, we do play 2 equipments, which are 2 copies of Juggernaut's helmet. Equip only to Juggernaut. Equipped character gets +5 attack while attacking and cannot be the target of opposing effects. Moving on to the location cards, we run 4 copies of Underground Resistance. Activate, discard a Brotherhood character, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your deck. And now, starting with our plot twist cards, we have our 1-cost plot twist. We run 3 copies of Total Anarchy. Ongoing, whenever a character with cost 3 or less becomes stunned, KO that character. For our 3-cost plot twist cards, we run 2 copies of Carrying the Torch, 2 copies of Mobilize, 3 copies of New and Improved, 3 copies of Iron Extraction, and 4 copies of Insignificant Threat. Carrying the Torch. To play, choose a character you control with cost 3 or more and remove a character card in your KO pile from the game. Ongoing, that character gains the name of the card you removed. Mobilize. As an additional cost to play Mobilize, discard a card. Search your deck for a character card with an affiliation shared by all characters you control. Reveal that card, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. New and Improved. Ongoing. KO a non-army character you control. Characters you recruit this turn with the same name as that character enter play with 2+1/+1 counters. Iron Extraction. KO target stun character that Magneto stunned this turn. Insignificant Threat. As an additional cost to play Insignificant Threat, exhaust a Brotherhood defender you control. Stun target attacker if its cost is less than the cost of the Brotherhood character you exhausted. And concluding our plot twist cards, we have our 4-cost plot twist, which is 2 copies of Unstoppable. Whenever a target Juggernaut stuns a front row defender this attack, stun the character behind that defender. Okay, so now since we kind of talked about what the cards do, we're going to talk about some of the combos you can do with it. And I want to start by talking about the 4-drop Magneto Mutant Supreme. So ideally, the combo that we want with him is we want to have Total Anarchy out on the field in combination with him. And the reason why is because whenever characters with cost 3 or less become stunned, you KO that character. So let's say, for an example, they don't have, let's say I have a 4-drop on the field and they have a 4-drop on the field. Well, I can activate the Magneto's effect to have them stun their 4-drop, because since they have no 1, 2, or 3 cost characters, because hopefully we have Total Anarchy out and they've all been KO'd, the idea for him is we want to activate him to stun their highest card, because from what I understand the ruling, if you have 2 characters with the same cost and you activate Magneto's effect, you can actually choose which one to stun. So we want to get into a scenario where we have KO'd all the 1, 2, and 3 cost characters on the field, and we want to stun their 4-drop. So that's kind of the combo that we have with these 2 cards. Another combo I would like to mention is probably one of the key combos of the deck is Carrying the Torch. Now, Carrying the Torch, what we can do with this card is, let's say we played a Mobilize, for an example, and we discarded a Juggernaut card into our discard pile. Well, we can activate Carrying the Torch on Magneto so that he has the name Juggernaut. Now, why is that relevant? Well, because Magneto has 2 names, Magneto and Juggernaut. So he can now use any cards that refer to Juggernaut or any cards that refer to Magneto. But the Juggernaut cards that are specific for him are the most important one is definitely Juggernaut's helmet, because now since Magneto is Juggernaut, since we use Carrying the Torch, we can now equip Juggernaut's helmet on there, or we can actually also play Unstoppable, to help maybe, get an attack in and maybe stun their back row character or something like that. So that's kind of some of the combos you can do with Magneto. Another combo you could do with either Magneto or Juggernaut, whatever Juggernaut you want to do. So let's say, for an example, we have our, I don't know, let's just say for sake of argument, we have our 5-drop Juggernaut on the field, right? And we're going to turn 7. And normally how the rules work is if you recruit another character with the same name as a character on the field, you have to KO the other character on the field to play that. So if we, for an example, if we have the 5-drop Juggernaut on the field and we want to play our 7-drop Juggernaut Weapon of Mass Destruction, we have to KO the one in play before we play the 7-drop. But a combo with that, what we can do is we have New and Improved, the one that allows us to KO a non-army character, and when we recruit somebody with the same name, they get +2 +1/+1 counters. So the combo is with New and Improved, we can sacrifice the 5-drop Juggernaut to our discard pile, and then we can play the 7-drop, and he doesn't KO the character that we had in play already because he's already KO'd by the effect of New and Improved. Plus, he'll come into play with 2 +1/+1 counters. So it's a nice way to kind of utilize your resources. And, the same thing goes for the Magneto. If we have any of our 4-drop Magnetos out when we want to play Master of Magnetism, the 7-drop, we could do the same trick. Whereas if we have New and Improved out, we can KO the 4-drop Magneto, play the new one, and he gets 2 +1/+1 counters. So that's another combo of the deck. And also, this is not really a combo per se, but I do want to mention that one of the key pieces of our deck is our 7-drop Juggernaut Weapon of Mass Destruction. And ideally what we want to do is we do want to recruit either our 3-drop Juggernaut or 5-drop Juggernaut somewhere in the game. And the reason why I play only 2 copies of the 3-drop Juggernaut is because him not being able to ready could be kind of bad, and just that it's just a good. He's also, he's a 6/6, I believe, and he has a good attack and defense, so he can definitely help, help us protect our life by, just having a huge defense. But ideally, what we do with him, we just want to play him just in case if we don't have our 5-drop Juggernaut in our hand, and we want to play him earlier because maybe we have a different 5-drop play, which typically we really don't. But you want to make sure to either get the 3-drop or the 5-drop Juggernaut before you play the 7-drop. And ideally, you want to soup up the 7 Juggernaut as much as possible. So I usually tend to like to save the Juggernaut's helmet for that turn. And I also forgot to mention is this. I think this deck wants to play on the odd initiative for the most part because then we get to attack with our 7-drop Juggernaut, and his effect is kind of similar to the old 8-drop Apocalypse card from, I think it was from Marvel Origins. So kind of similar effect, but it comes out a turn earlier. So yeah, so that's kind of that's why I like playing this deck, is because that 7-drop Juggernaut is just so cool, and he could definitely do some work and some damage. But yeah, that's 7-drop Juggernaut Weapon of Mass Destruction is just a pretty sweet card. Okay, so that's going to do it for this deck profile video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure and like and comment on this video. And do you guys have a similar deck like this? Have you ever played, your own MJ Brotherhood deck? And what are some changes that you would make to the deck if you could make any changes? Make sure to add those to the comments and stuff, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Versus System content. And I think that's about it, and we will see you next time.